They might say, great leaders of today. Do you want to live to see great progress in your country? Or you want the whole Caribbean to be filled with bloody stains and strife? Taking poor people's lives, making sacrifice, just to live your big life. Oh yes, well you are responsible for whatever happens. That's why we depend on you, thinking you would help us too. But to concentrate on power and don't care if your poor brother eat or no shoes on his feet, up and down the street in the burning heat. Oh yes, while immigration's in the foreign nation, kicking your people out just like garbage cans. But you better realize we have reached at a crucial stage. Situation has taken us right back to slavery days. But I say, you are the shepherd, we are the sheep. You made a petition, and that you must keep. But how can we prosper with our lives in your hand when your hunger for power is corrupting this land? But the news and information that I hear every day, all I can do is just get right down on my knees and pray. And while meditating, I hear a voice saying, woe to the shepherd that leads his sheep astray. Oh yeah, but I'm asking up the truth. Oh yeah, I'm telling you straight to your face. Oh yeah, you are a big disgrace. Oh yeah, destroying the human race.
Fear the Lord, fear the Lord.
Every leader should be blamed. It's a fact I must explain. Opposition leaders too, you're also responsible for when you perform malpractice, overthrowing government, I'll insist. If something like this is of your interest, then you're a pessimist. Oh yes, but if you live by guns, well then you would surely die by them. If you take my opinion, you can save a whole nation. All you opposition leaders and you ministers in government, while you resent and rest with content, poor people can't pay their rent. But when you come to the public, you keep a show, telling us big a business. But I hope you know, hungry children starving their belly out while you feeding high. But how can you rest with content when you hear them cry and deny that you are the shepherd, we are the sheep? You made a petition which you would not keep. You corruptious leaders, careful what you do, for what you do to others will come back to you. For when the radio station say Patrick Johnny today, my inspiration just grew, and I fell right down on my knees and prayed. And while I was praying, the good shepherd kept saying, woe to the shepherd that leads his sheep astray. But I'm asking up the place. I'm telling them straight to the face. There are a big disgrace, destroying the human race.
Fear the Lord, fear the Lord.
Oh yeah. The whole world situation is nothing but corruption. Even little children have so much ill words to say, but I blame parents and teachers who resent from teaching them the way. And that's why today, disrespect, I say, is a common thing. Oh yeah. And when you go to church, you'll find ministers of the same kind, sexual maniacs, and then some are homosexual men. They are nothing but wolves in sheepskin. They are blind, but yet they'll be in weeds. And I'm pleased to see Calypsonians like me, who be good shepherds, and that diverse time and peril has come. I say, false prophets rising up, deceiving every nation. It is time to spread the message all over every land. Stand up and fight and wipe out all corruption, and understand that we are the shepherds to care for our sheep. That is the petition which we have to keep. We promise to be leaders and to give instruction, but some only created abomination. Oh, the world is full of corruption and deceitful men today. So in whatever we do, we must get down on our knees and pray. For when we start praying, we'll gain understanding and know the good shepherd won't lead his sheep astray. He put a blessing in the place. I'm telling you straight to the face. He'll save the human race.
Sound of the King Star Shield. That one is called The Good Shepherd. I'm DJ Mauricio, and I'm coming to you live and direct from a remote location this evening as we are having some electrical issues, electricity problems here on the island of St. Kitts Nevis. Yes, I am back in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. However, we are having some electrical issues, and I was told it's countrywide. So I'm here picking up a feed from a remote location. So for you folks who might be just scrolling the web, running to us and wondering what this podcast is all about, let me give you a quick listen to the DJ Mauritius ad.
Wednesday evenings are heating up. Log on to DJ Mauritius' Facebook Live broadcast every Wednesday evening from 6 to 8 p.m. It's a frank and candid exploration into the social, cultural, political, and economic issues affecting our federation. And just in case you missed it, you can also catch the broadcast on his YouTube channel, DJ Mauricio. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube and smash that bell. You will be notified whenever he goes live. DJ Mauricio, every Wednesday evening, Facebook 6 to 8 p.m. or thereafter on his YouTube channel, DJ Mauricio. Log on.
Yes, you heard it right. That's DJ Mauricio each and every Wednesday evening from 6 to 8 p.m. right here. Facebook Live from 6 to 8 p.m. and YouTube thereafter. Now, before we get into the conversation, let's take a quick run across our sister island, Nevis, and hear what my boy Carbo have to tell us.
Cabos, located at Fountain Village in Nevis, is the go-to spot for your Saturday treat. Tantalize your taste buds with his delectable Cabos Delicacy Goat Water. Or, if you prefer some soul food, then Cabos Fungi and Fish is definitely the way to go. Call ahead and reserve at 869-663-9694. Then make your way over to Cabos and enjoy the vibrant atmosphere while you savor your delicacy. Cabos, we are not changing, we are only improving.
Food all over. Food all over. You got the food all over.
Yes, you heard it right. Brother Carbo has the food all over Nevis there, and Carbo are available and is available for special occasions. So check out Brother Carbo and let him know DJ Marish has sent you. Now let's take a listen to Sister Carmen of Carmen Caterers.
Girl Sandra, you know where you can find nice fresh local food 7 days a week, one provision and all kind of thing. Girl, where? Right down there by Shellings, by Carmen Catering Services. Girl, she opposite the bus stop. Girl, and she also cater for weddings, parties, anything you want to cater for, funeral and all. Girl, and trust me, you're gonna enjoy the food. And she also selling bites and Sundays. Opposite the car shop, right down the main road. Girl, you could call 665-1494 or 663-6005 to order your food or go and pick up your food. Girl, the food will be finger licking and you get your money worth. You ain't want nothing better than that.
You heard it right. Sister Carmen is right there at Shirley in downtown Bastille. Right opposite the West Ferry Terminal, Monday to Saturday from midday until about 5 p.m. And a Sunday, you can find Carmen there in Boyd Village in the bus stop right opposite their Gyro's shop there from midday until about 5. Make sure you get there early as food normally sell out very quickly. So if you want to have a choice of meal, you get there pretty early. Now let's take a run back across the Nevis and get some strategies from my boy there, Brother Daniel.
Welcome to Strategies for Business Success, right here on 2020visionradio.com and on 102.1 FM with business development advocate Daniel Arthurton. Each week, Danny will build on a foundation to ensure your success in business. Being in business can be daunting, and Strategies for Business Success can help you avoid the pitfalls. Join Danny right here on 2020visionradio.com, on 102.1 FM, and on your other social media platforms every Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. That's right, Tuesday evenings at 7 p.m. The time and place for your business dreams to come true.
Yes, and that's Brother Danny there across the Nevis. He's also the big man there for the Hydro Farm there in Nevis. Also want to big up my boy, Brother Banky, and Mackie Trust there, 3 of the top farmers there on the island of Nevis. Now let's take a quick listen to some information here. My boy, the man Aston Corker. Let's take a quick listen.
Attention vehicle owners and operators. Your driving experience just got better. Yes, you heard it right. 3A's Auto Services, located Main Street, Sandy Point, St. Kitts, where you have tire sales and installation, vehicular repairs, and other services. You can reach Mr. Aston Walker at 869-664-2204, 869-667-2071, or 869-665-0605. Yes, 3A's Auto Services, located at Main Street, Sandy Point, St. Kitts, just above the Brimstone Hills Fortress. And you can reach out to them for emergency roadside services. Remember, Brother Aston Corker is available 24/7. Just call those numbers.
Yeah, man, there's Brother Aston Corker, the Main Street, Sandy Point, St. Kitts. Check out my brethren there, Brother Aston, and let him know DJ Marisha sent you. And I can assure you that you won't regret reaching out to Brother Aston Corker. Now let's take a run over to the village of Old Road, constituency number 4, and see what my boy Gijo has for us down there at the Gijo's Bar.
Check out Gijo's Bar at Station Street, Old Road, this and every Saturday for the best bullfoot, good water, conch, bigfoot, and cook up. If you're in the mood, we also serve garlic bread, fried fish, green salad, and burgers. Yes! So remember, the place to be is at Geo's Bar, where you can enjoy Ludo games, snake and ladder, dominoes, listen to music all night, and sip on some cold drinks. Yes, it's all happening this and every Saturday at Geo's Bar, Station Street, Old Road.
You heard it right there, Station Street, Old Road. To check out my boy Gijo. Bang a game of domino and get some lovely meals. Remember, the ambience there is very impressive and welcoming. Now I want to big up my boy, the man Romeo Paris of Paris Pharmacy there, Westbourne, got St. Kitts Nevis. That's a man that you can get any vitamin or whatever medication you need. Check him anytime. Paris is always accommodating and reachable. I also want to big up my cousin there, Sister Gloria Hutchinson there at Smart Fit, there, Central Street, Bastia, St. Kitts for your clothing need. Gloria is located right next to the Skellig, the electrical company there on Central Street. So just check Gloria and let her know that DJ Mauricio sent you to check her out. And if you have any tire needs in the city, Bastia, don't forget to check my boy, Brother Tango. Tango there in Westbourne got as well. Tango's tire repairs and replacement, sales and repair. Tango is always there ready for you. So let Tango know that DJ Mauricio sent you. Now, just before we get into the conversation, let me just drop a clip here by our own legend and icon in my view. The man himself, Dr. Garfield Alexander. Someone sent me a clip here that Dr. Alexander spoke about some issues here, and the DJ talent did not know that Brother Alexander was following the DJ over the last 4 or 5 years, but it appears as though that he has been paying keen attention to the DJ. So let's take a quick listen to Dr. Alexander, a legend in his own rights.
DJ Mauricio, I don't want you guys to take your eyes off him. Remember, he's been around for some time. Let's go back to COVID and lockdowns. The gentleman came in, was locked down in quarantine, and then realized the total hypocrisy, tyranny, and oppression of the then administration during our most horriblest time. Spoke out. Not only spoke out, became an activist. And then you know what he did? Organize and centralize. And he never stopped organizing and centralizing until Timothy was gone. I don't even want to talk about the involvement he had before and the Douglas administration and the Harris. We ain't gonna talk about that. I'm just talking that during COVID, that man, both on this front, locally, and in the US, waged war against tyranny and oppression. One simple man, a DJ as he calls himself. He never called himself an engineer or anything else, just a DJ, because he understands the power of voice, and not just voice, autonomous, independent, honest, transparent voice always wins in the end. So it could be persons with unlimited power and unlimited money. He somehow always becomes the David against the Goliaths. Be careful with him. Be kind to him. Watch him. Because trust me, he's going to triumph in the end. Again.
Yes, my good people. Like I said, that's a clip there by the man Garfield, Dr. Garfield Alexander. Now, my good people, this evening, I am back here today, Wednesday, July the 2nd. We are basically halfway through the year of 2025. And the conversation continues, my good people. The conversation has to be had. I know some people don't want to have the conversation because for whatever reason, they focus on partisan politics. The DJ is not about partisan politics. The DJ is about what is best for our beloved Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. Tonight, I have a guest He's no stranger to this platform. We have been here on numerous occasions. And we're going to have a conversation this evening back in time to when we spoke just under a year ago. So I'm going to ask Mr. Oakland Benter to tap his screen, open his mic, and let's have that conversation. Mr. Benter, I know you've been here before, but as you know, on a weekly basis, the viewership increases, and we just have to let the folks know who is Mr. Benter.
Thank you, and I want to say good evening to your listening audience. All those who are within the length and breadth of our voices. My name is Oakland Benter, and I hail from the island of Antigua, live on the island of St. Croix, the U.S. Virgin Islands. Was the chief of police in the U.S. Virgin Islands, vice president of a telecommunication corporation where we had companies throughout Europe, the Caribbean as well, South America, North America. I then became a Virgin Islands senator in charge of different segments of a committee. And of course, I've worked in many areas conducting investigations all over the world based on my background. And I want to say that I'm very honored to be here with you guys this evening. It's been a little bit, but I would say to the people of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, I am really honored to be back online with you guys again, as there's some bilateral meetings taking place. We'll get into bilateral in a little while, what that means and signifies. So DJ, I'm happy to be with you this evening, and I think we're going to have a really robust conversation this evening.
Definitely, Mr. Benter. This evening, I really want to start off on the local front, and we can get into conversation that we have had in the past that bring us to where we are today in terms of the relationship between the United States of America and the Caribbean region. We went into this some months back, and some folks may have thought that we're just blowing hot air, but we're here. But I traveled over the weekend. I was in the Virgin Islands, so I was not present for the music festival. But as you know, everything is on social media these days. So folks posting their thing and giving their views and their overall assessment. And at this point of my life, being in St. Kitts for some 20 plus months, Mr. Benter, consistently since 2023, I cannot say I am disappointed in people. I cannot say I am surprised, simply because I understand the culture. I grew up in St. Kitts. I have been back and forth to St. Kitts. And what I have seen in our Caribbean islands is that the governments, doesn't matter which government thus far, I'm speaking about those that has been there. Who to come, I am only hoping for better. But what I have seen is that they try to keep the people in a poverty state, dependent on government for handouts. And as a result of that, you find that people cannot be true to themselves, true to their citizens, and speak publicly. You would hear ministers of government during campaigns speak about democracy, and they're going to do all of these good stuff. And the disappointment, I cannot say it enough in regards to this current administration, this new Terrence Joe-led, Labour-led administration. Because, as you know, I threw the kitchen sink and the toilet bowl at the former administration with the hopes that we will have a better St. Kitts Nevis. And to date, I am very much disappointed after just a mere 34 months. You know, it appears as though that in 34 months, we have done more damage than good, though the campaign was to do better. And, you know, so I'm going to run a little quick synopsis of where we are, because, Brother Benter, Music Festival was from June 26 to June, I think it's 28, 30, 3 days, Thursday to Saturday. And we had many artists that came through. And like anything else, I think the entertainment is something that always comes off when it comes to St. Kitts Nevis. Like I was talking to someone earlier today, and I told him that this government is more of a catering party, a catering government. They throw off a good session, where there might be carnival, music festival, some barbecue. Whenever things not going right, they throw some free gigs to appease the citizens, and then the plantocracy continues. So my heart is heavy this evening. And why is it heavy? The sad reality is that where our nation is at today, after 34 months, is disappointing. We have had some serious setbacks. And I'm going to just highlight a few so that we could have that conversation. And it's disappointing to see some of the comments that is coming from certain individuals. And I'm going to call them out tonight. Not because I'm trying to get at them, but trying to have that conversation about really where we are as a citizen of this country and where we need to be. Upstanding citizens, where we need to be. And I'm hearing all this hype about the music festival. Some is even saying that a Jamaican artist that came in was underpaid because of his great performance. My problem here is, my concern is this. I am of the view that less than a third of the citizens living in this federation attended that music festival. I believe that music festival was mostly attended by folks who could afford, folks who got their free tickets, regional citizens, or even leaders from the region. And like anything else, many of these officials that can afford a ticket for a music festival are the ones that get it for free, and their counterparts, while individuals that should benefit don't have that luxury. So my question and my statements to the citizens tonight of St. Kitts Nevis is that the music festival is over after 3 days. Are we, the citizen, is the economy any better off? There's a few things that have taken place over the last couple of days. There was something called the JADAP. The JADAP is some formula that the government came up with to give citizens who are supposed to be poverty-stricken $250 per month for 6 months. $250 a month we're talking about. And every time I think of the millions that they have overseas in their bank accounts that came out of this CBI that the citizens should have, and monies that they give to foreign investors, while the small businesses and local people struggle. $250 per month for 6 months, started from January and ended on the 30th of June. So as we sit here this evening, that $250 is no more. Another thing that the government had brought into effect is that VAT. They reduced the 17% VAT from 17% to 13%. That as well is no longer. We are back to 17% as of July 1st. The campaign on minimum wage. From my understanding, the minimum wage of $500, that's supposed to kick in effective July 1st, 2025. So we have now, citizens might be happy to hear that they're going to get a raise in pay, while businesses struggle to come up with that kind of money for paying their workers. So a lot of people are being sent home and will be sent home as a result of that. What is this government really doing to help the economy or the citizens? Charter flights to South Africa, charter flights in the region, partying all over the place, while the citizens continue to struggle. But What is sitting on my chest this evening, what is sitting on my mind this evening, is that on August 1st, 2024, a good friend of mine who resided at a nursing home in Sadlersea and St. Kitts went missing. This is some 366 days ago, if my calculation is correct. And he went missing for some 9 days before he was found. And he was found based on me getting involved, reaching out to the police commissioner, reach out to the then acting deputy, the deputy prime minister, who was the acting prime minister at the time, Jeffrey Hanley. And I can say, as I sit here, more than 300 days later, I have not heard back from Mr. Hanley about the conversation. But Mr. Edwards has been since found in the Saddlers Mountain some 327 days ago. 327 days ago since he's been found. 315 days since his funeral. I saw the deputy prime minister at the funeral at Springfield. I also saw another minister, Congress Maynard. I look at them placing wheat and Mr. Edwards' grave. I said to the minister, Hanley, that I need to speak to him about the situation because we can do better than we are doing in our Bill of Federation. They will be handling things. He told me, no, that I need to speak with him. But like I said, it's been 366 days, still no conversation. More than 44 weeks since myself and other individuals, including family members, have written to the Ministry of Health to address these matters. No response, no positive response. I got some promises from the PS of Health. I got promises from Prime Minister Ju about addressing the matter. But like I said, we are 366 days later since he went missing on the 1st of August. 327 days since he was found on August 9th, 2024. 315 days since his funeral on August 21st. And it's very troubling. And why is so troubling? Because like I said before on this podcast, if we don't put measures in place now, it will happen again. Are you going to wait until it's your time or it hits your doorstep to do something about it? I hope not, but it have happened several times since. Because a few weeks following Mr. Edwards' disappearance and finding him dead in a hillside, from our general hospital, the JNF, there was a patient that disappeared. We found him the next day, alive, luckily. Now, I have spoken to Prime Minister Ju and the DHI about many things that can be put in place whenever these things occur. We don't have to be on our back foot, but we can be proactive in ensuring we have the health and safety of our citizens. The most recent incident that bothers me to the core is the disappearance of a 15-year-old student, young lady, who, according to police notice that was put out on their website, went missing on the 16th of June. But that notice only went out on the 18th of June, 2 days later. I have a problem with that. And even following that 18th of June notice, there was subsequent report by the police that they are of the view that the young lady is still alive based on she's been in communication with individuals, but people are not forthcoming with information. Now, a young lady, a school child, 15 years old, went missing. It took them a week before the minister of government that represents that area to announce that they're going to do a search. A week. What was even more troubling for me is that Saturday morning, when they're supposed to be doing a search for this young lady starting in New Guinea, our catering, partnering government, partnering police department had the audacity to approve a street jamming that morning. That's supposed to be some music festival, Juve. Now we have a young lady missing 15 years, when all hands should be on deck to try and find this young lady. A week later, they decide to do a search, but not for the young lady, but to approve a street jamming in the city of Bastia. And it hurts me to the core. The next thing that I found out, based on the police report, is that the young lady seems to be alive because she's been in contact with people who are not forthcoming. But another insult to this young lady and the family and to the citizens of this federation is that the police department is offering a $7,000 EC reward anyone with information that lead to the location of this young lady. $7,000. That's the value of acquisition and division in this day and age. Well, we have foreign investors getting, according to them, 16 million US dollars from our SIDF fund to pay off a bill in the US. 16 million US dollars to pay off a bill in the US. And months later, if not a month later, another 16 million from our national bank. Foreign investors. We hear the story about the Christoph Harbor. I'm not going to get into that tonight. There's too much to get into. But I want to highlight the fact that foreigners can come in here and get $16 million from our federation to go and pay off a bill in the US. Get lands. They can sign contract to develop. They say some 17 billion should have been produced in 20 years. 20 years later, we ain't see the 20 billion, but they're able to restructure their loan and get more benefits, while local citizens, small businesses, cannot benefit. 7,000 EC dollars, that's the going price for a citizen. That's the reward that was offered by the police. Last Friday, we was awakened to the sad news that the remains of this young lady, decomposed body, was found in the Whitegate project in my area of St. Paul's over there. Mr. Benter, I am lost for words tonight because I don't want to use certain words that I know I should not be using on this podcast. But you, as a former lawman, chief of police, former senator of the Virgin Islands, I would like to know your views.
Firstly, listen to you speak about a child, a minor, gone missing, reported by the family. Automatically, on this side, we go into what you call Amber Alert. Amber Alert is one where every law enforcement, civil service, everyone is on board. And we start by grid searches, friends, families. We start going down through the contacts, the phone numbers, and we start to bleed from a perimeter on a grid, the spiral searches, and of course, we begin to pick people up, including the parents. But 5 days later, I don't know if the country, by way of law enforcement within the region, is familiar with or have this within their policy. When a child goes missing, everything stops. The child is a priority. And I mean, everything stops. There's no warrant to stop and check vehicles. There's an Amber Alert, right? Because people kidnap people to put them in the trunk So there's a time where things are levied where it's allowed without a warrant because it's exigent. It's an exigent circumstance, and we got to squeeze the pulse, even if we got to squeeze blood out of a stone to do what's right when it comes to children. So it's I'm taking note as you're speaking because I'm so far removed and to believe that a child was reported missing by the parent, a minor at that, and it took 5 days before anything began to take place. That, in its sense, tells me other things, that the status or the concern or the governance in the different agencies of the government, that the agency has had the fiduciary oversight to do what it's supposed to do under the circumstances, failed. And that failure constitutes the other thing, because here you have children with an event where a child is missing, suspected, and I know someone said, well, maybe she ran away with somebody. We can't do that. That's not the way you do policing. That's not the way we handle matters. And I'm not saying in the United States that people don't go missing, but when that Amber Alert kicks in, a lot of people have gone to jail for just resisting a search of the vehicle trunk and so forth. That's okay. They may sue and whatever have you, but that child becomes the priority. And a lot of those lawsuits are dismissed because we gotta act. We gotta move. We gotta move everything you have to make sure that you work with a family. You know what it is for a mother to carry a child for 9 months, and by way of reaching out to whom they felt comfortable with calling for assistance, and they placed on the side to wait until, and to wait until whether continue to call becomes until, and that until was 5 days later. So no, I'm pretty sure you said the body was decomposed. That says to me that that child don't know how long, but after 3 days, you know what starts happening to a body, and don't know where it was found, what it was out in the elements.
Correct. And I don't want to give the impression that no effort was made to find the child before that week or that 5 days, because investigation was being done by, I think, the police and the family. I'm speaking about no major event. No, nothing got effective. It was not a big hula calling out all residents to come out and let's try to find this young lady like they should have until a week later. And we should have learned from the situation with Mr. Edwards. And as you said, for a child, I mean, people just was going about their way, getting ready for their music festival. The partying was more important. Ministers of government doing their stuff. And a lot of nonsense was being said. It really made me question the heart of our people in our beloved federation. Really, what have become of us? Even if it's an adult that was missing. I came back into this country on Tuesday, yesterday. I happened to stop in by Kentucky because I needed to get something quickly. And I see some schoolgirls there in their uniform, and I look at them. And I'm sure they got to be between 12 to 15. And I'm saying to myself, one of these lovely young ladies could be the next victim. If something is not done, one of these lovely young ladies could be the next victim. And it takes me into the other concern that I have. I have a good friend there. I consider him a brother, former commissioner of police, Austin Williams. I saw him did a post on Facebook speaking about how great the music festival was and everything that should have been accomplished for the music festival is accomplished. And he's suggesting a new home, that music festival need its own home. And when I finished reading that article, I was taken aback. I want to know if I am reading correctly, if I am understanding what's taking place in our country. Because I know my brethren, Brother Austin Williams, he's better than that. He's a good man. He been a police officer, been in the army for years, so I know. And I'm wondering if these governments have our people brain so messed up that their focus is more important than partying, a music festival, than the tragedy of this 15-year-old. I'm talking about a former police commissioner. No kind of conversation about the situation. If he wrote something out there, I didn't see it. But that is what I'm reading about finding a home for the music festival. Totally delusional to what we really need. Because there are more urgent services that is needed than the home for a music festival. I can tell you, if you come to St. Kitts and I take you to Keon, right next door to the political office of the Prime Minister, side by side, the police station is in a mess. Dilapidated. Lack of resources for the officers. Lack of staffing. That should be more important than the home of a music festival. If I take you across the police station, right next to my village, it's been months that you go there. There's 2 mop buckets on the ground under the air condition collecting water that is dripping from that air condition for months. The staff at that station, again, is understaffed. Lack of resources, including vehicles and everything. The complaints are there. Don't worry, start talking about our healthcare system. The Molyneux Health Center, they call it a hospital. There's only 1 hospital in St. Kitts. They try to say it's 3. The Paxton Health Center, Molyneux, and the JNF. There's only 1 hospital in St. Kitts. Everything is health centers, as per definition. And they're in a mess. I am speaking out because I am in this country. I can be a patient at any time. And I would like to know that, God forbid, one of these crazy drivers on the road decide to run into my vehicle, or if I'm on a bus and get into an accident, Mr. Benter, I would like to know that we have paramedics that can do a trachea and stop my internal, external bleeding and give me a fighting chance to survive. These things we do not have in St. Kitts and Nevis. In the past 20 months, that has been my fight. That has been my call privately, quietly, to the Prime Minister, to the DHI, who is in charge of the JNF. Why is it we don't have adequate amount of ambulances? Why is it we don't have paramedics on these ambulances? Why we only have EMT? EMT definition is just a chauffeur. Just to pick you up, make you comfortable to get you from point A to point B. An accident victim, 99% of the time, based on the injury, will not survive in St. Kitts and Nevis because there's no paramedics on these ambulances. And let's not call them ambulances either, because they're not outfitted as an ambulance. They does not carry the necessary equipment or whatever medications and what is required to save life. In the event like Mr. Mapp, who passed away recently, I was informed that his vehicle went over a gut side in Keys. Now, I was told that while they retrieved Mr. Mapp from the gut side, he had to wait in an ambulance for them to bring out the second victim because there was no additional ambulance for the second victim. I understand Mr. Mapp eventually passed away at the emergency room. As you know, Mr. Benter, every second count in these kind of situations. And these are things that I try to speak privately, quietly, to a doctor who is the prime minister about fixing these problems. And everything is always with a grinning, smiling. Yes, Jeff Roy, we're going to do this. Yes, Jeff Roy. Yes, Jeff Roy. But to date, after 34 months, nothing has been done to improve. All they have done is hire individuals to go around taking pictures and posing and whatever aesthetics that they do and social media. So a lot of individuals overseas who are not here on the ground will be out there cussing on social media about the good job that the government is doing. But we are on the ground here. We are on the ground. And St. Kitts Nevis is in a mess. We can't even call it life support. It's not on life support. There are many individuals that I would attest to that have passed away since I am here. They should be alive today. But I also grew up hearing my grandparents and the older people say, nobody dead before the time. That is questionable. Because if this is the way people are supposed to die, God and I need to have a serious conversation. Because many of these individuals that have bled out in that emergency room at JNF should not have died.
You have a trauma center?
No. Even that I spoke about. Even that I spoke about.
And what is the closest destination for medevac? What island do they take them to? Is it Trinidad or is it?
I honestly not sure,
Okay.
but I am of the view that you have places like maybe Barbados, Trinidad, Miami, Puerto Rico. And this new smart hospital that the Prime Minister continued to speak about, which I don't see nowhere in the horizon, is something that I spoke to him about, having a health tourism sector. Because this region needed that trauma center. And if St. Kitts Nevis can provide that service, we can get business from the region.
Of course.
Right? And during the campaign of 2022, I was all in with Dr. Joe, by extension, the Labour Party, because I have been involved in the healthcare system for so many years that what seems to be impossible for some people is very simple for me. For example, I can say this to you. I have heard the Prime Minister went into Parliament on more than one occasion and spoke about new ambulances coming into our beloved Federation. And then he go back and say that these ambulances, there's a backlog, they won't be coming in as scheduled, and of recent time it's a similar situation. Mr. Benter, such as what is entailed in these ambulances and St. Kitts Nevis, such as the purpose that they use them for. Any minivan, any minibus from any of these car dealers and St. Kitts can be used to retrofit and use as an ambulance. You don't have to wait to get ambulance from China. They don't have ambulances like doing stuff like we do in the Virgin Islands or in the US. Basically, the ambulances that I'm seeing in St. Kitts is something that we call access a ride in the US. Or when you're moving folks from a nursing home to the hospital or back for treatment, whether they're going for dialysis or whatever. This is the kind of operation I'm seeing with these ambulances we have here. The folks are not trained. There's no paramedics. They're not trained to save lives. We got a serious problem here. Your mic is closed, Brother Mentor. But I want folks to understand that we can do better than what we're doing. We can do better than this. This government is not it. I thought they were. That's why I supported them. And I said from the onset, I will sit back for 2 years and I will give them the opportunity while I observe. But after 2 years, I have to ask questions. I have to assess. I have to grade them. And they're not doing well. I am seeing worse than the former administration and I have to call it like it is. Not because I am cussing. Not because I'm trying to be revengeful. Because I know that we can do better than this. We have the means. The resources are there. The resources are channeled in the wrong place, or wrong places. Folks are more interested in their overseas account, their offshore account, than the account of the people, the citizens. I will fight whatever legal means, whatever is within the law, to not just educate, but empower the people of our beloved Federation. Because this is not it. This is not what government should be doing to its people. This is not why they were elected. We got a serious mess in St. Kitts Nevis, my good people. Just as I came in and campaigned for, I made a promise then that I will do an assessment in 2 years. I have done that assessment. And I have to be honest with myself. I have to be honest with the people. God is looking at me. My conscience, I must sleep when the night comes. We got a serious problem in St. Kitts Nevis.
You take me back to 2021. I think going back a little bit in the discussion, 2022, 2021, 2022 coming forward. And you did say during that time on the same podcast that if this administration, this government that you're pushing does not, if they do the same thing the others have done, you'll be one of the first to stand up on behalf of the people and speak about it. I know it's a hard road to walk and to say it, but you stood by it and you did it. I think more than anything else, as you spoke about the medical side of this when it comes to what's taking place, being a senator then, and I had oversight over hospital human services and the health, it requires a lot of application. And of course, the Prime Minister is a medical practitioner, he's a doctor, an MD himself. I know and I think and I thought that he would have actually understood how important this is. Coming from an area of well-trained, I must say the physicians that come out of Cuba are very well-trained, diverse, very good. I would never take a hat off their head for that. That sort of training or tutelage and understanding how critical medical services are, that would have been a priority and an easy one for him because he has walked it and understand what's necessary and what's required and where to go and get these things. And then you have the other individuals who've been, because government is continuous. It's not that one administration change and everything stops. You have physicians who are still in the hospitals, nurses that are still there. It continues. These are significant input and information havers that they can transcend those information to the incoming administration, whomever. So it seems that when government changes, everything starts all over. No one used great ideas from the past. They just kill it. If it's not my idea, it didn't come from my administration, it's no good. And then, of course, the penance that you pay is the loss of lives, the ability to provide class 1 service for your people, but you should be a priority for any government, for their people, their constituents, primarily going forward. I'll say that going back to the young lady, 15 years old, while I was the training director for the police department of the U.S. Virgin Islands, I had your training director came up to St. Croix, and I took him to a series of training and got him certified. We got him certified in areas. Well, taser is one of those things a lot of people don't like, but if you don't use it correctly, it becomes an issue. But the aspartame, cadaver dogs, and at the end, we even sent officers down there to get that canine segment of the police department trained up, and further application of some of the use of the equipment, the aspartame and other things, at no cost from under my watch. I think the commissioner then was Mr. Wendell. It'll come back to me.
Walwyn.
Correct. Walwyn was the commissioner, and so there were some people went missing, and we sent cadaver dogs down to St. Kitts to help and so forth in searches. But and I'm going to call you the esteem, and I'm going to call you honorable, because it takes a man to take a stand and stand by his word, no matter what. Even if you're the only one standing and standing by your word, you did that. All right? And in doing so, the government, of course, where you at today and what's out there. See, the thing is, what's out there today that the government is not talking to its people about is serious. When you asked me to look into some of these issues, and I said, okay. And being on that platform with you back in 2021, coming forward, as we sat on your podcast until 11, 12 at night sometimes. The message that you sent, the delivery as far as the services that needed to be had or have within St. Kitts and Nevis, that would be looked for, sought out to make sure that it comes in and offered by the now sitting administration. And you had that confidence, but you still said, even if they don't do what they said they were going to do during the campaign, I'll be the first to come to the public and say to them, I was wrong, right? But in it being so that it is pretty much what we're hearing or seeing today, and having firsthand experience in where things could have been, because the plans that was in place to help the OECS countries going forward, it would have started, and you knew it was going to start from St. Kitts. As a matter of fact, what a lot of people don't know with St. Kitts is that St. Kitts was going to be the area that was identified for the U.S. Embassy. That's where it was going. And I'm saying it tonight because one of the things that happened after we started looking around, after things started happening with the Prime Minister and what was said, and I gave the Prime Minister some time to take care of some matter and serving me with some documents, if you could recall, whether or through the U.S. Attorney's Office or wherever he needed to serve in the State Department or whatever have you. That has not been done. I believe a man of their word, and they stand by the word and they do what they say they're going to do. He said he was going to take action on behalf of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis against these imposters and these individuals trying to come and shaking down his office. I'm expecting for him to do that. But I'm going to say to him tonight, and to them, that when you send threats, when you sit in a position of authority, make it an authoritative position by law and execute. When you waste time and play the fool with something, some people are more keen to action than you are. And when we started off, I spoke about bilateral meetings that are being had. You remember the government under the OECS, they were saying there was nothing going on, that there was not going to be anything, that there's no such thing as the CBI program had an issue, there was nothing to worry about, that everything is fine. And that, as I listened to the Prime Minister as he spoke, he said he's in these high-level meetings with the State Department, right? That's what he said, that he's always in these high-level meetings. And understanding high level to a meeting, it really becomes consequential, because when you have these meetings, the press is in these meetings at times, right? And whereas the press is in there, the press is public. And what the press, through our Constitution, have the right to report, right? So high-level meetings, when you're sequestered into meetings where there's no one that can take anything based on what's said anywhere else. None of the OECS prime ministers can sit in any meeting like that within the United States, period. They can. You're a US veteran. You have more level of leverage to sit in those meetings before another government leadership when it comes to the sovereignty of the United States of America, and likewise the sovereignty of the OECS or the other country. And one of the things that I would say is, if there is so much of a beef with the actions that the United States is saying that they're going to implement, have implemented, then you don't have to travel to the United States. You could do the same thing and close your doors for American passengers or vacationers coming to St. Kitts. You could shut your borders to them as well. That's just how simple it is. But the irony behind this, though, is St. Kitts would have been the leading mechanism if they had listened to what was being presented to them to fix this issue the best they can, rather than becoming political or self-perseverance for themselves and not for your citizens. Today, with the bilateral meetings that are being had, and bilateral means it's a meeting between two sides. There's the bilateral meetings that are being had between the United States of America and the OECS islands, bilateral. And the reason why it came to bilateral was one that they pushed when they realized how serious this was, when they were forewarned, educated the best that we can to be understanding of what this means going forward. It took the war with Israel to begin. It took the other factions to be taken. It took the Time magazine and others to start to publicize things. And still yet, the leaders of the government said there's no such thing. And the same as they said there's no such thing, they traveled in May to sit with Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State. But there was no such thing, they said. And while this is going on, now they're making adjustments to bilateral meetings as far as what they're going to do to enhance and secure and make sure the proper due diligence are done based on individuals that are coming into the country. It's too late. For the thousands that's already through. And as they saw with some of these other countries where they started to shut down some of these countries from coming into the United States, I say here tonight, there's no difference when it comes to the OECS countries. You see, I think they think by saying we're going to do this, that they convince the entire nation of the United States that they're going to do it. But those individuals of whom they let through, and those whom some would travel from your country with a briefcase full of different passports, and all that need to do is sign a name into those books and then come back and certify them in the books there. Who are these people? Who are they? And while these people came through, there's some, and I said it on your show some time ago, they're bomb techs, they're chemists for chemical warfares, they're individuals in the digital warfares, and then they have their individual spies that makes their way to Barbados, the embassy, they get a visa, and then they're out of the Caribbean region somewhere else. How do you fix that? How do you recall these individuals? And then, of course, they were saying that all the agencies was doing what it was supposed to, but then you canceled some of the same individuals who were selling these, or you hired or gave the authority to sell these passports to. You start to recall some, and then start to recall some of the people. Nothing was going on. That's what they said. Everything was fine with the CBI program, that there was no issue with the CBI program, and that the information being brought forward was all false, and that there are people who are trying to impugn the reputation of the sovereignty of St. Kitts and Nevis, where there was nothing at all to say that was something to look at. That's what they said. That's what the government of the country said. And in trying to spiral it in another direction, the country then tried to invoke the tarnishing of reputation of other individuals with conscious understanding of what's before you and what is in the end game later on, if not. And in sitting in the presence of these individuals, you know, one of those markers that I'm saying as I'm hearing, and you don't hear anything about the bilateral meeting, it's closed door meetings. Understand that this bilateral meeting means this. The America has already said what they said. You have some of the countries that are saying that we're going to hire the doctors full-time on staff within our country. It doesn't work like that. It does not. These physicians have families that you don't understand. See, when you talk and you get in the meeting, you speak and you don't understand, this is a dangerous world. These individuals have family who sits back in Cuba. That these families are the guinea pigs if you fail. Understand that, ministers, you guys are talking rampant in the media that you're going to hire these physicians outright. It doesn't work like that. Gayasa, of which is the company of which they work through via Cuba, is a Chinese company. While your program in paying Gayasa, through that program, the funds received were used to build weapons, exercise the executions of many people, and plan many things in different places of this world. I'll tell you go a little further. The military base that's being built on the south coast of Africa. Then you have Canada, and then you have Mexico, the Caribbean basin. And when I say there's a serious military armada right outside of the coast of some of these islands just waiting, because it's not going to be one of those things where you think that here comes a ship coming from all the way across the other side, which becomes a launch pad that comes to your shore and dock in your shore because of your relationship, your treaty agreement, or whatever you have with them that brings a missile closer to the United States of America. These are hard conversations to be had. So what do we define when we speak about leadership in any person? And persons who sit in leadership positions that lies to your people, you're endangering the sovereignty and independence of your own country. Because no one is stupid here. None. And Brother Marisha, is one of those things where St. Kitts would have been the leading cannonball. But with everything that's happening really right now and how fast-tracked things are, the government of St. Kitts is the one that really amplified it. I don't think they realize that. They amplified it by their actions. They amplified it by their behavior. They amplified it with the reluctance of being forthcoming with and serving under the program. And of course, the CBI program began where? Smart people in generating ideas that would definitely do well for your economy. It is a great program. The CBI program is an outstanding program, but it has to be managed the right way. It has to be in control of your government. You have Interpol. You have the Department of Homeland Security that the government can interact with to work with them to vet the candidates. You have a company out of the same country that these individuals are coming from, that are who they are, BAMTEX and so forth, vetting them. Whatever they give you is what you got. And as we said back then, China does not allow dual citizenship for their people. How is it that the Chinese company is doing that? What's the end game here? To the Prime Minister, good men stand even if they're standing alone. The information you provided to your people that has segued into something different today, a lot of what's going on heavily in the OCS is your fault. You streamlined in the media. You profess that so much bad apples came at you and did what they did and tried to do what they wanted to do with you one way or the other. You infiltrated in the avenue of only yourself. You forgot about your people that you represent. You forgot about service, not servitude, but the services of which you said that you would provide on behalf of your government, on behalf of the people of whom you represented. You took it somewhere else and created a war that you didn't even know you started. You created a war between the United States and the OECS countries at another level that you didn't even understand. You did that. You did. And until you begin to understand how this is going to work, you don't sit in any high-level meetings. You don't. You sit in meetings that's open to the general public. The bilateral meeting that's being had here today, ladies and gentlemen, is one that the OECS requested, not the United States of America. They realized that here comes this deadline, and they needed to get to understand and bring this to an end fast, because what they've said to the people have misinformed them. And the United States is not waiting to say, well, we're going to give you this if you give us that. That's not the case. That's your country. That's what you're responsible for. You deal with your country how you going to deal with them. The United States is going to deal with the United States how it's going to deal with it. I don't think they understand, in looking at the sitting president and the warnings that was given aren't warnings to be played with. Seriously. I mean, we are Caribbean people. And then being Caribbean families that we have, and sitting from this side of the island, realize what's coming. You know, if the Prime Minister and those guys had got rid of the guy for MSR, Felipe Martinez, and worked the structure properly and work with all the program and acts and using the assistance that were available, this would not have been where it's at today. You know? It would not. But when your country is fighting something, not MSR, but fighting, understanding that there is a serious threat in the back doors of the United States of America, and you need to take action now. Just the mere fact that they stood up and say, you know what? we're going to reach out and ask for the help of Department of Homeland Security and Interpol. We may have made a mistake. Some of these people may not be as they should be, as far as who they say they are. Let's invoke that assistance. It had gone so much different, so much better that you're working with. And then the embassy discussion would have continued for same case.
But Mr. Benter, as you went down that road, what is amazing to me is this. And at this point in time, I'm not even blaming the politicians anymore. I am blaming the people. Because if the people, the citizens, whether home or abroad, pays attention to the facts is right before them, you know. When this matter with MSR and Mr. Martinez took hold, though we campaign on these things, Dr. Joe at the time before he was elected Prime Minister, campaigned on that prison project that it was fraudulent.
I was right there with you.
That it was illegal.
I was right there when he said that.
That it was corrupt.
I was right there.
So you campaign on these things. You get in there, and all of a sudden, through your lens, everything that was fraudulent, that was illegal, that was corrupt, with no adjustment, became legal, became the way to go. Now, the fight between MSR, aka Mr. Martinez, and Prime Minister Joe is very simple, you know. Mr. Martinez provided the documentation to show that these passports or these files was being undersold from the legal price.
Mm-hmm.
The Prime Minister claims to have acknowledged that there was no underselling. But what they're going to do instead is go into Parliament and make sure that there's a law to criminalize it. Though they knew the underselling was taking place, whoever was benefiting, that they knew was benefiting and they did not want to touch, they tried to fool the people, pull some cloud, some drapes over the people's eye by saying they're going to go into Parliament and make some kind of act to make it illegal. Well, they knew the illegal activity was taking place because we campaigned on it. They went further by trying to strike out the case that was filed by MSR, aka Mr. Martinez, because he did not have any grounds to stand on, according to them. They then come back after the case proceeded to court and acknowledge by way of an affidavit that yes, they did the investigation, and yes, their PS raises an in court and acknowledge that there was underselling. As a result, this is their information they provided. I think it was some 13 individuals that had their citizenship revoked. Some 32 individuals paid the additional, the difference in the monies.
Mm-hmm.
And there was some 157 cases that still to be investigated.
Mm-hmm.
Now listen to the shocker. It was 5,500 files.
Mm-hmm.
So where Mr. Martinez, aka MSR concern is, fine. You all fight us down and said that there was no underselling. That was your position. Even though you all campaign on it, you all said there was no underselling. Well, now you acknowledge in court that there was underselling. You have taken action against 13 individuals. You have received the difference from some individuals, and you're proceeding with the 150 whatever.
Remember, it wasn't happening, right? There's no way it was happening, right?
It wasn't happening, but now you
Okay,
acknowledge it in court.
exactly.
You acknowledge it, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So MSR position was, listen, we don't want you to investigate 157 because we gave you 185 files.
Mm-hmm.
We want you to investigate the 5,500.
Mm-hmm.
As per information that I received, it was discussed in court that, okay, we will investigate all 5,500 files, but we don't want to put it in writing. We will, it's a gentleman's handshake. We will do the investigation. And I understand that the attorney representing MSR, without discussing it with MSR, whether they discuss it or not, I'm not sure. The information I'm getting is hearsay. But whatever decision was made in court, they agreed to a settlement. But before the ink could dry on the settlement, because the settlement was not completed, here comes our SKN media for the government and Erasmus Williams putting out an article that the judge forced MSR Media to withdraw the case by a certain time because they have no evidence, they have no facts. The case is going to be null and void. That is what caused all of this mess. Because when MSR saw that information, MSR said, no, that was never the agreement.
Mm-hmm.
That was never the understanding. The understanding is that you guys would investigate all 5,500, but you did not want to put it in writing. But since you all are playing games now we're going to go back to court. I want the judge to make a ruling. So the matter is still in court. But if you were to listen to these labor rights who are not paying attention, MSR and Mr. Martinez is the biggest crook, because that's what the Prime Minister tried to sell to the general public, that he's a convicted fraudster. Mr. Benter.
So, my brother, and I say this to those who are listening, Mr. Martinez, after Mr. Marisha got me back into the saddle, I'll put some blame on YouTube, put me back into the saddle of doing some investigations as well, and where this went to, I would say to the citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis, whether they want to believe it or not, but time will show, because again, we're going to tell them something tonight, and they're going to challenge it until the truth is out, right? Mr. Martinez loved St. Kitts and Nevis. Yes, he looked like the bad egg because he's taking a stand, but a stand for you, for the citizens, not for himself. Yes, he has a business. He gonna get his. But the real victims of circumstances here are the citizens of these countries. The billions that should have been towards, we're talking about healthcare, proper ambulance, triage, trauma centers. We're talking about a whole host of things that should be part of what they should have already had in place based on the funding they received. Mr. Martinez didn't want to become a whistleblower. He was more on the leaning side that thought that, well, this is how this is going to go by him trying to work with the country, and the country just take care of him because of, not the country, but those individuals, not the country. They didn't want anything from the country, but individuals. But for the time I got my eyes on documents and the behavior, it changed the course significantly. Mr. Martinez is a federal whistleblower. And he's one of the hardest person to say to, I know you care, but stay out of it. Because the man really care. I saw him on the show the other day, and he was really trying to educate and say, hey, listen, this is whatever have you. So when I speak to Mr. Martinez again, he's not going to be doing any more podcasts. He's a federal whistleblower. This thing is at another level, but it's out of his hands to a certain degree. There's certain things that will still take place in the course of St. Kitts and Nevis. But it need to be clear that this is not something that's going to go away just because they think they're sitting and having a bilateral meeting. The bilateral doesn't take care of all those individuals who came through the program. It doesn't take care of all that was done with the spies. Even U.S. citizens who began to work with China, I don't know if you saw some of these businessmen were arrested as well. Americans were arrested, right? So while Mr. Martinez, because he wants to see St. Kitts and Nevis stand up, and you don't think they get the good end of the stick because of the leadership. I'm gonna have to make some decisions where he got to know whether you're a federal whistleblower. And you know when you're a federal whistleblower, and he's a volunteered to a certain degree, normally whistleblowers are secret, right? But he's bold enough to stand up and say, well, this is what I'm doing for you, the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. I'm standing up and put myself out there as a sacrificial lamb because it could go any which way. And that's why Mr. Martinez, where he's at, he can't leave from where he's at because we're going to make sure that he's protected for the rest of his life. See, what they don't realize is this thing goes deeper than just selling a passport. We have the mafia behind this. We have the jihads behind this. We have all those other people who are suicide bombers. We have so many other aspects of this whole thing that they don't understand. This warfare was way before they were born. And when we go back to 1983 with Grenada, that was something planned way before even the prime ministers who were there before. This is the yin and yang and the plans that they have been planning way before we began to pay attention. And you found the soft, greedy targets that saw getting $10 extra, but you don't know, and it help themselves to have a better life is the key. But then the people who have to suck salt, you stay where you are or eat shit, if you will, excuse my French, but that's where you're going to stay because that's where you belong. We need to change that concept. So as Mr. Martinez spoke on some of the things I heard discussing, as I went through and we were looking at it and we're like, what? You guys are so far already in the podcast, you know, but he did say a lot of things where really and truly, he has a big heart, but we're going to have to take the heart out of his chest for a while. Because he's looking at fighting for the people, but, you know, people ain't fighting for you, you got to step back, right? Because the more you do some of the things you do, the more he pushes some of the things forward. He elevates it forward to move faster. I don't think he realizes that. I think he was trying to say, guys, let's fix the country. You have an opportunity to do this. He's trying to say, Pete, hey, guys, you got to fix your country. But when you do that, some of the things you get into, we now have to move a lot faster, if you know what I mean. All right? It has to. Because, I mean, he's not an easy person to hold down, right? Because he said, no, the people in St. Kitts are good. He explained in verbatim from every employee that he's hired and what the connectivity or connection they've had. These guys, for the training they received, they could work in any movie studio based on what they were trained to do out of St. Kitts and the conditions. It didn't even take them to other areas if they want to go further. But to put yourself in a position to become a family, and we spent time looking at some of our other videos with the actors and so forth who were there and they did presentations along with the Prime Minister. And those are some of the things that are looked at to say, okay, maybe these guys aren't terrorists. Maybe they're just individuals that just some money. Because you guys are trying to find out what's in the person. And I'm educated now. What's in this person's being? Is he part of an attempt to destroy the United States of America through terrorism? And we had every prime minister had to go through that sort of investigation, period. Are the ministers along the same line? Who are the affiliates and who they're working with? When the question was asked about Iranians, whether passports were being issued to Iranians, the answer was no. Now the answer is yes now, right? The answer was no. Are you providing passports to anyone, any Iranians and so forth? They said no. And of course, it had to come to a deep-rooted investigation to find out that, yes, in fact, it was being done. And that's where you talk about your own treaty with the United States, and that's where you talk about bilateral, when you have a treaty, but you're going behind the treaty and doing something different. The ministers now, not the citizens. And then you create another issue for the country, and not for yourself, but for the country. And that's a big divider here. And that's the big surplus of what will become of this whole endeavor. The focus on the United States right now, as you can see, is leaning towards the Middle East. Africa is on the roll right now with Congo and some other places. To tell you that Brazil is now trying to get back into that discussion. Okay, remember the BRICS became an issue by Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. And the military base that they were strategically building on the south coast of Africa for a systematic attack upon the United States. That's where we are, people. So some are going to say, oh, well, to hell with the United States. That's fine to say. But then for those who live in the United States as well, because you know what's getting ready to happen, if you commit certain crimes within the United States and you're a U.S. citizen, naturalized citizen, if you commit certain crimes, your citizenship will be revoked and you will be deported back to your country of origin. And then those guys in green card and all of that stuff. I've sent this warning because El Salvador went through this, where a mass evacuation or deportation of individuals who was in California and so forth, and they had a gang operation. They took it back to El Salvador. There was a virgin to a lot of these behaviors. And El Salvador was having over 60 to 100 murders a day. Now it's one of the most safest places to be in now based on what was done by the president of El Salvador, now working with the United States now, Chosicat. And I'm going to ask the citizens of the country, those who are listening, they don't have to say or take my word or advice, just like the government didn't. But I'm saying to you that if you don't lobby your leaderships to be the leaders on your behalf, because you are each citizen, you are in fact the prime ministers, you are in fact the ministers, that these individuals work for you, not you work for them. They're employed by you to provide a service on your behalf. Do your research. Don't wait for them to spoon feed what they feel like spoon feeding you. Do your own research and see whether or not they're working in your best interest, in your best accord, based on their practices. Now, I would say that the MSR group, with their push for documents from the court to get into many accounts, I'm very disappointed as I sit here with the sort of numbers that are in a lot of these accounts by ministers of the Caribbean. I'm saddened because of where the funds came from and how they were able to manipulate it to redirect it somewhere else for their own self-enhancement or enrichment. I'm very disappointed. Because when you walk down the road and you say to someone, good morning, how are you do? You shake their hand and you're there to whatever you need, I'm here your service. I'm disappointed to come to an office where there are people who, we sat there, where there were people who came in just to have that little 5-10 minutes, all right, of concerns that they have, that they need the assistance of the minister for a service that they lack of or thereof. But the service is lack of because you don't have the industry, the facilities to provide the services and the staffing. Right? You went into the police department, you went into what's going on with the hospitals and many other areas of it that could have been one of the best, by example, with the sort of resources we have, state-of-the-art facilities. No one is saying Kids and Nevis should be working based on what could have come out of the program if you understood how you structure dividends and you create accounts and you have individuals assigned as a government entity to manage those funds in another direction in the market. Shouldn't be working. It's such a vital and a viable program that if you handle it well, every citizen in St. Kitts, based on what you would have had, every home that you build for them is $1 or $0. Based on the program, you miss that. You miss the opportunity to be able to also, in working in conjunction with the United States, and we call it the United States because that's where it's at, where many of the programs that are offered in the United States could have been offered to the country like it's done to some of those other countries that are not in the United States, the DEI, right, and USAID. So many other things could have come into the country just by being good governance, right? Good government with good governance. Simple, but no. It's an opportunity by those who were there before, who educate you. This is how you could do this, and you could be rich. The first $1 million in your pocket, close your eyes to every baby that was being born in the hospitals. Every senior citizen, whether to walk away and die, or senior citizen who just don't have the meal to eat at the end of the day, you close your eye and you walk away because you can get in a private jet and travel anywhere you want. And the government pays for it. And with that, my brother, I tell you, I think that in the next couple of days, while the bilateral discussions haven't gotten anywhere because they haven't agreed into something, they'll come back and say, well, we're working with. Working with is a word you use. That's not all there is to be working with. There's actions to be taken. And to date, there haven't been a press conference with the OECS, with the entire OECS population of citizens together and explain to the people of these OECS countries what is the way forward. They're going to burn some bridges, and burning those bridges, they're going to be taken to court in some of the instances, but they got to take an affirmative stand on behalf of the citizens. America is not the only place. Somebody said, oh, we don't have to go to the United States. That is fine. America doesn't have to take anybody from OCS countries into the United States either. So, but it must become a balance, because in time of war, I want to emphasize, in time of war, what side does the OCS wants to be on? And Grenada learned that fast, going back in 1983. What side of this totem pole you want to be on if war by union or partnership or whatever is agreed upon with other countries outside of the United States, America will protect the United States of America. There's no way that the OCS could stand with one F-16 flying across your country. There's no way. But it's not that that's where we wanted to go, should go. We got to use diplomacy and start to think as far as what is tomorrow for our children and those who are unborn, for them to have a legacy or place to say, this is my home, right? And one that don't go into the same position, like Cuba have the best medical, one of the best. But if you go into Cuba, for a lot of people who've never been there, the medical services to the citizens of Cuba ain't like what those doctors provide in the OCS countries. It's not. You have to pay for it, okay? It's not the same. It's not the same. So after the meeting with Marco Rubio, quite disturbing. Ministers then go and start to post meetings that they're having with the Cuba government. Some go and post videos that they're meeting with leadership of China. And they say, well, China is a superior country over all the other countries in the world and whatever have you. How do you think that works with a president like Donald Trump who sits in that office? So you think the bilateral is going to be taken serious when your ministers are outside having these other discussions and talking about other things different to what you said or you discussed with the Secretary of State? Do you think that changes? It changes the dynamics of whether your word has meant a word to stand behind. It takes it into a format where you are now trying to bamboozle or fool where you can't fool. You're trying to create something where you don't have the digital ability or technology to be able to fool who already know what you've been discussing and you're outside of the territory with other people, right? And as things move forward, more will come. But you see, our people, it requires that they must see it before they believe it. And now that they've seen it, they still send to the people, but nothing is going on, right? We didn't get a letter or any notification within this certain amount of days that this is what's going to happen. Is Iran got how many days to respond? They got how many days? They got several days, right?
They got 2 weeks, but they got bombed the next day.
You understand what I'm saying? And they don't understand. This is not a joke. This is, as you saw how America is scrambling, shutting down all sort of different countries because of what is being uncovered. And a lot of these things filter to the Caribbean, to the OCS countries under the CBI program, right? Yes, my brother. So
you know what is bothering me, Mr. Benter, is the enablers in our beloved federation. During the campaign of 2022, I can recall Dwyer Astafan explaining to me, and by the way, Dwyer Astafan is a former minister of the Labour government, former Minister of National Security, former Minister of Tourism. So he understands the nature of the situation, the nature of the beast that we're dealing with. So I consider him an enabler. Dwyer Astafan, Sam Kanda, I consider them enablers. And why I consider them enablers, they cannot tell me that what I am speaking about, the information I have, that they're not aware, that they don't know about it. Dwyer is in that documentary making a contribution that I look at in regards to the CBI. So they cannot tell me they're not aware. So when Dwyer going to come on today, Wednesday, presenting a commentary, following the music festival for 3 days, speaking about how good it was and he should get a new home. Just the same as I spoke about my brother, the Austin Williams. I have the same message for Dwyer. Let's deal with the real issues. You must know what is important to the people. Healthcare should be priority. Education, safety, the economy, how folks survive on a daily basis. Like I said, one of the first things I spoke to the DHI about when I joined the staff at the JNF, I tried to find out the structure for the EMTs, the ambulances, and I was shocked to know that there was no paramedics on staff. I also spoke to them about the response time and the response teams, the resources that respond to an, for example, you have a passenger bus accident with another vehicle. A passenger bus carry multiple passengers. So how are you going to show up at an accident with a passenger bus with one ambulance? No jars of life, no fire trucks. These kind of people, no one that is capable of doing a tricky. So when you take someone out of a vehicle that you have to use the jars of life, what are you doing to protect them, to make them survive? Their survival rate gone down because you don't have the proper individual there to ensure that these folks get to the emergency room within a timely manner, or get the proper health services that they need. We are talking about 3 doctors that have been prime ministers. Sir Kennedy Simmons was a doctor, was a prime minister, our first prime minister. Dr. Douglas, Denzel Douglas, now prime minister too. And our healthcare system is in this mess. And music festival, paying all of these monies to artists is more important than your citizens. Like I said, a 15-year-old disappear for days. It takes you more than a week to do a proper search. And within that week, you are telling us that you have enough information to believe that that individual is alive because they're in communication with other people. You're going to put out a 7,000 EC reward. You're going to come days later to tell me that you find the young lady decomposed body up a crane range. And our citizens, instead of having a conversation on this matter, you have a conversation about who was the best performer in the music festival. That's what Dwyer Stefan wanted to tell you, did you? My good friend Dwyer Stefan expect me to accept that kind of conversation from him in a commentary? Well, Dwyer, that commentary not going to play today. Not on this podcast. I look forward to your future commentaries. But that commentary, Dwyer, does not fit these times.
DJ, I don't think that the people realize, you know what DEFCON is in military terms.
Yeah.
You have 5 DEFCON levels. What the world doesn't know and people don't really understand, we were DEFCON 5 being the safe one. It's a countdown. We were between 3 and 2. At 3, the Air Force struck the bunkers. And of course, everybody is steady ready for what's to follow next. We get to DEFCON 2 and 1. That's global catastrophe, ladies and gentlemen. We were at DEFCON 3, almost to 2. From 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is a countdown. Right? The Air Force was ready, and with 15 minutes of DEFCON 3, they moved off and they struck and did what they did. DEFCON 3. And while these guys talking about other things as you're explaining, as far as the crisis that's around us that these people are not educated in, is happy-go-lucky as usual, where there's no understanding of the danger that our OECS country also a part of putting our country, our world in as well, just because of Benjamin Franklin or what is the euro. That's what they did. So if they understand the DEFCONs and that those countdowns start, what didn't the Air Force strike? DEFCON 3, right? They dropped those bombs with the bombers in Iran, right? You still have Ukraine, and see people ain't paying attention. Ukraine and Russia still going at it. And then you have the other part of terrorism, where the suicide bombers and so forth come into play. Or they bring in pathogens, chemicals, something that destroys your food, your crop, and so forth, which they caught in where a Chinese individual brought it into the United States and caught him on time, and he would have wiped out the food source, right? They would have wiped out the food source. That pathogen alone would have killed animals, goats, cows, chickens, what you eat, the bread, the food, the lettuce. They would have wiped those things out. That's where we at, and we still sitting there and thinking that they're the magistrate, the magistrate and the stand sitting there, and I'm king, supreme ruler, and the naked as hell ain't got no clothes on. None. But they think that they're in a position that they dress the best, but not realizing that as a snuff, that's a snuff, and that's over like that. You know, and those are things that we don't train our young country about in many ways because of whatever have you, and some just don't know, right? If no one knew we had DEFCON 3, when the US Air Force took action, right? And releasing what they released and stand ready for in case of retaliation took place for interception of other missiles that may have been, which was in place. Iran made a notice, of course, they were taken out of the sky. It was nothing in those, but just to show you, right? You think that we could handle that with this region where, yes, the discussion of bringing some of those, but China has the most vessels, right? Vessels, but America has the artillery. And they move those vessels within these water and the submarines. You think that's something that does not be monitored? And our ministers said they're talking about the bilateral discussion for the CBI program.
Nonsense. And you know something, Brother Benter? This take me to the next segment because I have been getting calls locally, regionally, internationally. And the call and the statements I'm getting is, Marisha, you have been out there for the past several years campaigning for the saving of our federation and for the ministers to do the right thing. And if you're not getting it done, why don't you do it yourself? Why don't you get more involved? And my question to the people of St. Kitts Nevis, is why Marisha have to do it. What happened to you, the people? Why not you, the people? But I decided over the next week or two, I will provide those resources, those platforms to change the political landscape here in St. Kitts and Nevis. And it's going to be up to the people, Mr. Benter. It's not going to be up to Mr. Marisha. Because I've said to the people time and time again, those 11 people in Parliament, because that is what it is right now on Church Street, they lie their ass off in there to the people. 5 in the opposition, 6 in the government. Whether you want to believe it or not, elections is around the corner. By will or by ill. The ills that has been done to the country and the citizens will soon implode. And once that situation takes place, elections must come. There must be fresh elections. The implosion is right there. We just have to pay attention. People is asking all manner of evil. And I keep saying to them, pay attention. Pay close attention. We are in July. Today is the 2nd of July. And the amount of shit that have happened thus far. Yesterday, I understand our main national bank got some kind of wave hack or whatever happened to it. Things were shut down. Today, island-wide electricity shut down. That's why I have to come from a remote location this evening. And the saga goes on. But in spite of this 3 days music festival that folks want to treat like the world have regained consciousness, St. Kitts Nevis is unconscious. There are many people in our beloved federation that don't have any conscience. Many of the people that I fought side by side with to change the former administration today does not have any conscience. They don't have any heart. They don't have any love. Because what they're doing to citizens, the victimization, the folks out there that really need it, that cannot get, while many of them have millions in offshore accounts. Those individuals that have their jobs getting their $10,000 and $20,000 a month, or the $100,000 and whatever $1,000 a year, those same people got free tickets to the music festivals. There was in the VIP and the VVIP. I understand they even went as far as allowing a 420 area. 420 meaning that the little spliff that they lock up the poor kids them on the street for in St. Kitts and Nevis. The ganja that they lock up the citizens for here in St. Kitts and Nevis and charge them big money. They were allowed to carry 5 spliff into the music festival. Hear me again. While they harass the local citizens here about spliff, marijuana on a daily basis, for the music festival, they were allowed to carry 5 spliff into that area. But Mr. Benter, there's something I heard from a police officer that it makes my blood crawl as someone who is involved with the law enforcement agency. They did not only allow each individual who choose to carry 5 spliff into that arena, they also allow them to carry a cigarette lighter. You know what damage a cigarette lighter can do? In the right hands. It's a rhetorical question because I know you're aware. As a law person, what damage a cigarette lighter could do. And when I heard that in that event, where security is supposed to be tight like God knows what, that someone got stabbed at that music festival event. Mr. Bent, I come in on a Wednesday evening to have a conversation.
Yes.
Not to cuss.
Exactly.
Not to fight with anyone, but to just bring awareness to our citizens. Because our citizens got to understand that the people that we elect have lost their way. We have to accept that. What they was elected to do, they are not doing. They have lost their way. And we, the citizens, have to take back our country.
You know, like you say that, what about and I'm going back based on what we're going back to 2021 going forward, there was discussion of the peace program, the discussion of the Elevate program. We hear so much homicides. What's if you, where is that now? Because this was supposed to be an avenue to keep the streets safe. Employing these. Yes.
Mr. Bent, I'm going to tell you something, right? That's a story for another podcast, because I'm going to tell you this, right? There is 2 individuals that I'm going to, no, there's 3 individuals that I'm going to invite back to this podcast. And I can bet you that none of them will accept my invitation. We had a shooting here today.
Oh.
There was a shooting today. I do not know what the outcome of it is. But there's 3 individuals that I would like to have a conversation with. I would like to have a follow-up conversation. Well, it's more than 3, I know the AG is not coming. I have reached out to him on several occasions, and he knows my position where he's concerned in regards to what the judge says about his criminal activities, not doing the right thing in terms of his social security for his worker. But the AG need to come here to follow up. The Prime Minister need to come here to respond to our original conversation. Because he assured me on this podcast that he could never be as bad as Timothy Harris. The Prime Minister, not only he lied to me, he's more dangerous than Timothy Harris. He's a danger to this country. It's like giving a child matches to play with. while the propane tank is open. That is where we are.
I think what didn't happen is, you know, any students that go to Cuba, and some are strong enough to withstand and stand on their own. But when you go to train in Cuba, you go through training or classes that deals with their philosophy.
Right.
And you have to buy into it. You have to transform into it.
Well, we're going to have to do something about that. I finish it. You know, there's some other people I need to come back here to talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
We have an ombudsman that I just had a conversation with here.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to hear his views and give us an update on where here with the situation. I also would like to hear from Mr. Coyote in regards to the peace program that you just spoke about.
And you have one by the Sea Cadet program or something like that as well too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would like to hear from them. But more so, I would like to hear from our NSA, my good friend there, Brother Rollins, Wussy. I would like to know what kind of advice is he giving to the Prime Minister.
Well, you know, when you speak about Usi is very well trained. I mean,
yes,
very,
very
capable.
What is his role and why these things are happening under his watch? Because, Mr. Benter, the last time I had Usi here, there were some accidents that took place. As a matter of fact, one of the person that died in Keys, Miss John, I turned out it's my cousin. I found out she was my cousin after she passed. The first time I met her is during the autopsy. Her son allowed me to go and visit her to view her body before they did the autopsy. That's how I met my cousin. And the autopsy table. And I did my investigation then and found out that the CCTV cameras on the island not working. There's some dispute going on with the individual that maintain these cameras and the government. So many of them are not active. So this young lady that went missing, the 15-year-old, there's no cameras to show anything.
You know, there's the techniques, right? I know that I hit you with thinking about somebody showing it. Myself, there are techniques I wouldn't discuss it in this program. I can assure you it would have been two tools. But yes. I guess they haven't.
And this isn't that bother me. I'm saying, with my little training, I know these things. With Brother Rollins' training, with the Marines, he have access to request assistance from outside if he need to.
You know that the government had a man right at their right and left hand side, that if they had invoked his input and leadership in this area we're speaking about as well, even with the CBI and all this other stuff, if they had invoked his skill set into this, I mean, I'm speaking because I know the man, I know his history, and I know where his name stands when it comes within the agencies. They didn't bring but the resource they have to work and to apply it. Somebody else spoke who had no inclination whatsoever in the atmosphere.
Yeah.
That's how much respect I have for Mr. Rollins.
And the point I am making is, why is Mr. Rollins someone as decorated as him?
You sure they understand how decorated this man is? I don't think they understand you.
Standing by and accepting this.
They don't know what they have.
Because instead of that kind of disrespect and insult, I would have resigned.
They don't know what they have. They don't know who they have in their deep.
I would have resigned. But Mr. Benter, we're just about approaching
that time.
That time, you know it is. I like to stick within the time. We're going to go a little overtime, but
yes.
The situation is this. I want to drop this interview with Mr. Martinez and the Prime Minister following his election. Because people out there having this thing when they listen to the Prime Minister talking about the man is a convicted fraudster. Why should I hate Mr. Martinez? Why should I be upset with the MSR company when for months we are asking questions about our CBI? And it's only after he filed these cases against these individuals that we elect, we start getting some information. We still have not received the information in full, but because of Mr. Martinez, and I would thank him every day, we got some information. So let the general public listen to our Prime Minister having a conversation with Mr. Martinez in better times.
Welcome. It's a pleasure to be back in Kittitian Hill, which is now, I believe, called Belmont Farm. So thank you, Mr. Prime Minister, to have us. We shot a film last year here called Christmas in the Caribbean.
Welcome to Belmont Farm. Let the island heal you.
Starring Elizabeth Hurley. So it's a little bit emotional for everybody to be back here. And we're excited because the movie comes out in the United States in 2 weeks. So we would like to know if you would be happy for us to have a premiere of the film for the citizens of St. Kitts.
Well, I want to thank you very much, Philippe, and to thank you, Elizabeth, really for choosing St. Kitts. We have always thought that St. Kitts has what it takes to present itself to the world in the way that it will be presented with these movies. And so I am definitely looking forward to the premiere, but not me alone. I think the citizens and residents will be looking forward to that as well. I think this will be a most momentous occasion for us, and so we are happy to be a part of it. So definitely I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and we're excited because this is such a beautiful hotel, and St. Kitts is such a beautiful country, and the audience all over the world is going to see the movie. So we hope that it will do justice to the hotel and to the country.
Right, and I think it would. You know, we are developing here what we call the orange economy.
Yes.
We are looking at developing the arts, and this definitely fits into that. And to have this being premiered and our people having the opportunity to see it would have a tremendous impact, positive impact. But in addition to that, Kittitian Hill, which is a type of hotel, as we call it here, of its kind, where nature is blended with, good cuisine and a good place to stay, which is a type of brand we are trying to portray as we develop our sustainable island state.
Yeah.
That the hospitality industry can of course be mixed with the preservation of our natural surroundings. Mm-hmm. And so Kittitian Hill, I would like people to know, it's beautiful and it's open for them to come. But interestingly, that you have chosen Kittitian Hill to really do this movie and to present it to the world, and so we are very pleased with it.
Well, I'm back here now in St. Kitts and Nevis to make another film here, and it's actually going to be the third film that I've made over here. And the movie that's coming out this month, Christmas in the Caribbean, was such a pleasure to shoot. Funnily enough, where we're filming right now is the house that I stayed in for a couple of weeks when we were shooting, so it brings back really happy memories. And I think what's really important for me and for the other actors that are involved is that we really feel that we're working within communities that seem so open to have us as filmmakers, that seem to really be very keen to be involved. Philippe and his crew that he initially brought over from overseas, we've now integrated, and we have so many local people learning all the different trades backstage in the film and in front of the camera, and that's a wonderful thing for us to see. And it's just been an absolute pleasure to find this location to shoot in. I come from England, a very rainy country, not much sun. So for anybody like me to be invited to the Caribbean to shoot is really, it's like a dream come true. So, I'm very supportive of MSR and their endeavours to make this a real filmmaking artistic hub where more and more talented people, creative types are going to be encouraged to come, and at the same time to be teaching and incorporating people who live here into our plans and dreams, so that, as a united front, we can continue to make bigger and better movies here.
And that is the goal. One of the things I've said to Philippe, and you mentioned it, is about the incorporation of the local people here.
Yeah.
And what I've said to him is that we have a college here, and that one of the courses we would seek to develop is a movie making course, and to have its input in terms of the structure of the course and how it can be delivered. So this for us is a win-win and an extra win, in terms of making sure that we benefit, you benefit, the world benefit from what we have to offer. And so this is why I'm so excited today, and especially when we have the premiere and bring it closer home to our people.
Well, we have a couple of news for you and the country. I know that your administration is very committed to education and to create employment.
Yes.
So we are prepared to do 35 films over the next 5 years and create 150 jobs for citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis. Along with our development, we are finalizing the purchase of a hotel in St. Kitts so that we can have a base to produce and train people in St. Kitts.
Yes, and and as we have spoken before, that you will definitely have our support.
Yeah.
St. Kitts has the opportunity to become a hub.
Absolutely.
I think that when people see these quality movies and actors and actresses like Elizabeth, they would know that we are in serious business here.
Yes.
And so as we go along, I want you to know that you have our support, and we will develop this industry as our orange economy expands, and as people would look for what I would call the informal areas for employment, such as the arts and so forth. And so as we go forward, this is exciting, and you have our support.
Brilliant.
Yes.
Thank you.
Welcome to
So, but Benta, I don't think you heard the interview before, so I had to drop that one for you.
You know, as I listen to that, Marisha, I'm telling you, in any government that you're doing business with anyone, it is your responsibility to do your due diligence and that company before you get them a business license, right? And to operate at this magnitude. And the cross section, as far as the actress of whom we heard, she has some serious clearances as well, and she's also, to her team, will vet whomever they're doing business with as well. All right, when it comes to the Queen. So here comes the other aspect of the invite, the exposure to grow a product that you're offering, a segment for training in a program within the education system of St. Kitts and Nevis, as the Prime Minister says. 150 employees, that's a lot of employees, right? But purchase of a hotel for an investment into a country that, if you were smart enough to diversify your economy by using the anchor that you had, but instead it became something different. And as you have read, and I've read and reading documents that says that what really is that the country betrayed an honest client, really, that wanted to do things above board, by the books. And when they saw that it wasn't by the books, they decided they're not going to go contrary because of the impact to the people of the country. And they took a stand for the people, and they became public enemy number one, based on what the government had placed in the minds of the people, that these people are corrupt, when the person was actually saying, no, I'm not going to do that because it doesn't benefit your people if I do it this way. This CBI program, the infrastructure, the education, and it goes on to so many of the variables.
You know what is funny? Is to hear the person that is corrupt accusing someone else who tried to do the right thing to be corrupt.
You know, one of the things I realized, but this is one of the things that while we're interviewing Mr. Martinez, the people think it's a good. They're very hardworking people. When you sit in a room and you're speaking about a country or the government that has really, really disenfranchised you, and then you have somebody still defending one end, so it has nothing to do with the people. It is hard to put a separation, because once the leadership is involved, it becomes the country that has the burden to bear to a certain degree, right? But as we get further, we realize what they were doing with the program funds, they were stealing from their own people.
Siphon.
And that's the part that gets me. You're stealing from your own people.
Siphon it off.
And playing like everything is above board. And that's why I went to the youth investment fund, right? That's one of the other things that they had out there for every child. I heard to give them $300 EC, right? And when we know that could be much more. And then you go into the other program that they had, and they play a game with it and make it seem like they're moving forward to take your things. And really and truly, what they were doing was just stymiting the process, right? The judicial review and all these other things that they said they were going to do to enhance the country. And it's just a thing today that when you sit and you speak, because people love people, and take care of people. When you sit and you speak, and for what's in hand, that shows the entire lie. And these guys still haven't said, you know what, let me resign and let me just get out of the way. Let somebody else take over. All right? Because your government, the members of the government, if they do what they're supposed to, these guys are fantastic. Let me tell you, when you sit and you listen to scholarship, statesmanship, you listen to people projection as far as application, they're saying the right things, but the application is going someplace else to get what they're talking about done.
Mr. Benton, let me explain something to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've said this before, it's after 8 o'clock, but I have to say this to you.
Mm-hmm.
When it's come to speaking,
yes,
these people talk your eyes out of your head.
Yes.
They are that capable.
They let you buy sand for them when they got the beach, yeah.
Correct. But when you look beneath the surface, it's a different situation.
And I'm beneath the
And you're beneath the surface, and I'm beneath the surface. So that is why we're going to be the problem, because...
you said something, Mr. Marisha, and I want to let you get away before we end this program. As people are speaking about individuals and where things are in this government, sometimes I know you're looking for the people to take a stand, but I'm going to beg you to take a stand too. Let me tell you why. This is not the only time that I've heard you speaking. And you spent from COVID, you've been going, I've been watching all these things. And you have genuinely been a person that stood your grounds to right your people, right? Not to take away from, to demoralize them from, to embarrass them in the world with your position that you've taken. You stood firm to right. It is time for you to be right, because it's going to take individuals like you to stand firm and represent what you stand for, that you could be in that fight for the people of your country rather than on a podcast. And I'm saying to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, I don't know what constituency that is, but it's time for you now to be one of those leaders in a constituency to help really bring, if they knew what you were bringing to the country, my God, right? But yes, but DJ Marisha, yeah, he was a part of this embassy discussion. Yes, he was. He was a part of the smart city for St. Kitts. Yes, he was. He was a part of an airline as well. But we're all moving, the mechanisms are moving. But then some things needed to be addressed. So, Mr. Marisha, the Honorable Sir, it is time that you now, as I listened to you earlier, calling people, I calling you. It is time for your name to be a blade. It is time for you to be a stalwart of your own country, where the winds and the trade winds of the Caribbean, prevailing winds, all that comes with it, that you are that by the slight of one blow of your nostril to make that happen for the people of St. Kitts and Nevis as well. Don't count yourself out because you're respected. If you listen to read comments as the shows went on and listen, but as you're playing out the segments in their own voices, and what you've been saying, because you're saying it, they say you're talking nonsense. Now you're playing the different recordings of these individuals speaking in their own voices, in their own press conferences or otherwise. That says exactly what we're saying here. The CBI program, it is billions of dollars. And when you look at the dividends, right, that should have been going to every single citizen in St. Kitts and Nevis, the people don't even understand that they're being robbed blind. All this, they're taking care of us. You're not being taken care of. You don't have your infrastructure. The withdrawal of citizenship for crime, the green card issue, the visa side of it. You see what they're put in place now in order to get a visa, right? And a lot of people can't meet up to what they're asking for. You got to open your portfolio, your internet, everything you've done with any server, that you got to open all of that for a reason. There's a reason, people. You're not going to get a visa so easy. It's not going to happen. And I take you back to Iran. 2 weeks become 2 days, right? And the bilateral discussion is just a courtesy because the Secretary of State have spoken. The President have spoken. Yeah. You now have to come to snuff, and there's those thousands, more than the population of people in St. Kitts and Nevis, as far as the CBI program, as far as who have citizenship, is more than your population. Those people out there that Kittitians don't even know who they are, right? they are no citizens of your country. But a lot of these guys, there are a lot of underhanded things that's going on. And they're getting arrested left and right in the United States. And that's what Martinez was trying to bring. You know what, it's hard to tie down this guy, you know. There's some way, somehow we can find a measure to get to the media and speak, because he's, oh God, people, those people, now I'm listening, 150 employees, right? And that's what the movie side of it. Then you have the hotel side of it. I don't know how many people he employ for that side. And all the other stuff that goes with the licensing and so forth, they pay to the government. So I could see why he has a profound love for the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. So you'll take the brunt of the blame. And of course, he wasn't close enough to me that he could put a tape on his mouth, but he'll continue to push. I see he's a hard whistleblower to hold down. He really is. He's not saying anything that damages the case, but what he's saying, it elevates the case, because now, you know, we want the case to go forward, and it is going forward, but, you know, something he's trying to help in a way. But just said, yeah, just please listen to this and just start doing this, man. At least try this, and maybe this will slow down some of it. Mr. Martinez, don't slow down this train, please. I got an assignment. Marisha, who introduced me to you and whatever have you, I know you didn't realize this thing would have gone so far, and he really didn't, okay? He still was thinking that the people of St. Kitts and Nevis smart, and they're smart enough to understand, read, comprehend, to see for themselves. But sometimes it takes the outside side to educate. So this movement forward is one that he is out of his control. Mr. Prime Minister, you still have not arrested me. Mr. Prime Minister, you still not have arrested me. And I gave you an opportunity to act. Now I will act. And I act when I say I will act. I'll leave it there.
Mr. Benter, to your statement, when the time is right, the people will decide what they want the DJ to do. I am here for the country. I'm here for the people of St. Kitts Nevis, and I'm going to, like I said, educate, empower, and do whatever I can for the people for beloved Federation. One of the things that I laughed at today, because I have so much stuff when I'm preparing to come live that to discuss. I cannot do it in 2 hours. And I try my best to fit everything in. Some months ago, there was a tender that was put out here by the government in regards to a school in Molyneux that's supposed to be built or renovated. And apparently the two contractors that bid for the project was not favorite for the government or the ministers to do the work for the school. So the Deputy Prime Minister, who is the Minister of Education, went into Parliament and lied to the country that the bid was non-responsive. And I have asked him and the Prime Minister to explain to the country what is their definition of non-responsive. In the Prime Minister's defense, he have told me in person his view of a non-responsive. I tell him, well, tell the country. Don't tell the DJ. Tell the country your views. To date, no one have come, in my opinion, and do the right thing. But of recent time, I found out that that job is now back on track. I understand the job was tendered, but they split it into 3 segments, 3 sections. They did that in an effort to accommodate the contractors that they selected to do the work. But the kicker for me is not even that they want to give the work to their contractors that support their party. Is that the overall cost from what it was when those 2 contractors bid is now $6 million more. So if we're going to continue to allow this corruptive atmosphere to take place in our beloved Federation, that circle, I'm going to play a song right about now, and I'm going to give you a chance to do your closing. So just hold your thought. This vicious circle of ministers that we have in a Labour administration led by Prime Minister Joe, I am going to drop a track for the new Labour administration.
What is the reason for you to fear the iniquities of wicked men nowadays, when you are aware that all that is in their minds is to upraise strife and confusion? But the same does fall on their children, down to the third and fourth generation. Corruption, I say, it could work, but it just can't pay. For most people who are living sky high today got rich in dishonest ways, and living with day from day to day, I can say that if they could hold the key to destruction and upturn this place to confusion, they would strive to do all they can do. So this message I bring to you, especially for them wicked people, and it's not lies, so listen to my cry. If a man spit up to the sky, it must fall straight back in the eye. Some men would even use their position to seduce young women of this nation. Say this and coming out of school, applying to get employment, and to be successful, they must be present for interviews at their residence at 8 p.m. instant, or somewhere they never went. I call it a bed and back situation, breeding corruption over the land. But they'll cease from their wicked plan when they understand that the one who holds the key to destruction, someday he'll turn their life to confusion. They continue to seduce my people, for when he see they're getting too far, he would take away the power before they die. So they know it's not lie, that when they spit up to the sky, it must fall straight back in their eye. Broadcasting and rumors going around, information about wolves in sheep clothing, keeping us down. Just like Jim Jones, the minister over in Guyana, using God's name to make a cover for the land he want to take over. He didn't mind to kill a multitude at one time, after making them sign him as beneficiary of their social security. But not he didn't live to spree his decree, for he do not hold the key to destruction to stop them from shooting him down, or he'd openly let it be me. But the one above has the plan to make all them decisions, and if I lie, oh, he wouldn't have to die when he spit up to the sky and it fall straight back in the eye. I do not intrude on no specific man, for when I sing my song, I just sing it from true inspiration. Whatever I do does surely affect me too, for whatever deed that I do, it becomes a vicious circle. Vanity never makes happiness for you, so you should never spoil your future days for vanity which does not pay. For happiness can only be when your mind is free, and you know who holds the key to destruction can make this a happy nation if we strive to do what we should do. That's why this message I bring to you would help us to struggle through, let it reach you high. So even if I die here, I spit a blessing up to the sky, let it fall straight back in your eye.
Yes, Brother Benter, you're closing. And that song was by the King Starshield.
I want to say thank you and to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, even to the OECS members, individuals who live within the OECS, that we are in trying times at this time. That in fact, there are things that will be befalling our nation. But the thing is, our leaders need to understand that the people they represent are the ones who will be impacted and not them themselves and in their private homes primarily. The actions has taken us in another direction. And I want to say, as we get back on my next visit, that by then some other things would have developed. And like I said to you this evening, for those of you listening, that the Prime Minister of the country had an opportunity to file his charges, as he so eloquently explained to the country that myself, who was in his office in a meeting, tried to shake down the country for 40 to 100 million. That is not something that I take lightly with a character of mine. So Mr. Marisha, I want to thank you. I want you to really think about that next step in your journey, rather than being the speaker on behalf of Attracting, but be the speaker to represent your nation. And I look forward to seeing that happen pretty soon. And I wish each and everyone on the podcast this evening Godspeed. Thank you so much.
Okay, Brother Benter, thanks for joining me as usual as we get ready to drop the unofficial anthem of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. This one is entitled Arise by the late great King Arrow.
Your country dying and never lend a helping hand. Would you see your children's future dwindling, creating much disillusion? Or would we watch on idly, disregarding our self-sufficiency? Maladministration building a brand new nation. We'll move on together hand in hand. Rise, citizens, arise. The country is yours, all yours. unification, building a brand new nation. We move on together hand in hand. Rise, citizens, arise. The country is yours, all yours, still yours. Can your conscience be clear? Indulging corruption or misusing public office, being accused of unemployment and crimes, or disrupting a citizen's peace. Oh, my country in this harmony, separated politically. Hatred for a brother, cannot love each other. No, I say no, not at all. Citizens, let's unite and stand up for rights, all our lives and our lives. Let us reintegrate and correct our mistakes. Reunification, building a brand new nation. We move on together hand in hand. So rise, citizens, arise. The country is yours, all yours, still yours.
Yes, my good people, and this brings us to the end of yet another successful broadcast here at the DJ Marisha Experience. Now, tomorrow, July 3rd, that's Wednesday, July 3rd, will mark the 10th anniversary of the passing of my brother Phantomus. It was a very sad occasion for myself and the family. I hope that the kids and everyone have a good day, and it's not going to be easy thinking about that. I also want to big up my girl there, Vinetta Warner. She'll be celebrating her birthday tomorrow as well. Hope to have a drink with Sister Vinetta at some point tomorrow. I want to touch the good folks. There's Warner's One Stop. Brother Eustace Warner, hope all is well with you. How about the folks over there at the Jeff Fritz and Son Enterprises over there in the Muddy New area? Good evening, folks. Also, the Fritz Bakery there in Borio. Want to big up the good folks over and that end. I also want to big up my boy, the man, Mr. Powell, Scatter, the good water people there, Main Street, Newton Ground, St. Kitts, Island Purified Water. I want to thank them for keeping the DJ hydrated whenever he's in the Federation of St. Kitts Navies. Benta, open your mic there. I want to give you a challenge. I want to believe, following this podcast tonight, I want to believe the Prime Minister will come out with some kind of national address of some sort, whether to extend some of these hands out, because the people are very concerned of all of these things. The VAT that was reduced to 13% is now back to 17%. The JAD handout that was 500 under the former administration, that the campaign and will be 1,500 was taken away, then reduced to 250. Now it ended on the 30th of June. I also pretty sure that he might be coming to speak about the signing of that document, that CARICOM document that went silent. I have listened to him speaking about the need for CARICOM to be one, but yet he have not come to the citizens to have that conversation, whether or not we are ready to welcome the world into our little space. So I wait for them to continue to bullshit the citizens, so to speak, and we'll take it from there. So I just want to thank you again for taking the time out this evening. And I look forward to having you back because I know we did not finish our conversation.
We sure did not. And hopefully, some of the guests, and one for sure would be the doctor for sure, Rollins. I mean, a powerhouse, a worthy person to have a discussion with. Not saying the prime minister isn't worthy. Don't get me wrong. He's the leader of the country, but you got to use your strength because, of course, this podcast, which a lot of people don't know, is being monitored significantly for content and so forth by many other entities that's paying close attention, even to the comments, right? That's paying attention. Because it is the voices of the people that makes a serious decision or have entities make decisions on your behalf as well. Some influences, some say, okay, they don't care, but we don't care either. You know? So some of these things happen. But yes, I am really happy to know that the Prime Minister is going to have a press conference if he does. And he's going to come to the people, but hopefully he comes to them with the facts.
That's all
I'm not saying that, right.
That's all I ask. So those just come with your usual lies. We are in July, but come with some facts.
Come with some facts. Exactly right. Exactly right.
So you have a good night, sir.
Likewise. Likewise.